Hello and welcome to Modern Sages. This video is a clip taken from our podcast. If you want to learn more or listen to the podcast even further, click the show notes below and that will link you to the direct podcast that you are listening to.
I don't know. I guess it's just when you grow up in an environment where you're very familiar with it, it's easy to just stay in the motions and not break out of different thinking or different mindsets. When you've seen the same people you've seen your entire life, there's nothing really new, nothing super challenging that occurs. Um, and when we moved to Idaho, it was the most challenging thing we've ever done from just like a root standpoint of uprooting our family. And we lived in a fifth wheel camping trailer for 2 months in the dead of winter. It was negative 15 degrees was the average, and we didn't have a home base. But then also on a spiritual level of now all of a sudden I don't have any friends, I don't have any family, I don't know what I believe anymore. What I thought I believe is not sitting with me anymore. And it just really opened up the channel for us to reevaluate, I guess, and just have a fresh start.
That's beautiful. Where did you start? So when you're in this midst of moving and literally the freezing cold and dark, right? Where did
Yeah.
you find, like what was that strain of light that helped you move forward?
I had to drop to rock bottom before I could move forward. I have struggled with anxiety and depression almost my entire life. And we moved to Idaho in November. And then the summer after that, I had sunk into the deepest depression that I had ever experienced, to the point that I was really questioning whether I wanted to live anymore. Um, and that was really ground shaking and earth shattering. And whew, just looking back at that time in my life still is very emotional. Honestly, the light was having my mind's eye open to not having to live how I was told to have to live, and being able to see that that was possible. As a woman, I was told exactly how to dress, how to speak, what a good mother was supposed to look like, what a good wife was supposed to look like. And that was not who I was. I was very different from who I was told I was supposed to be. And being able to literally open my mind's eye to be able to see that there's so much more life to live. There, you can be a mom in a different way than what you were told. You can be a different wife. You can dress however you want to. You can speak how you want to, and being able to live for myself again rather than everybody else around me was
Mm,
what I feel like was the shift. I shifted from making other people happy to making myself happy.
that's beautiful. Yeah, I feel like so many of us are going into that space, and that's also it's a challenge, and it's an unraveling as well because it's so easy, especially when we're taught like it has to be this way, you have to show up this way and look this way. It's easy to fall into that space of like perfectionism, but also perfectionism of the self. Like, oh, I'm not perfect. I'm not showing up this way. What are other people going to think about me? And I too have gone through this space of like trying to just like shed the expectation of others to really step into my own power, my own medicine. And so it's been beautiful. And I feel like so many people, really since 2020, there's been a huge shift in that space. But that's why we need women to share more about the darkness and moving forward and in that space. And I know that you have mentioned a lot in your content too about how nature has been so healing. Of course, you have the day retreats, the overnight retreats, and just helping women also feel safe in nature. So how has nature really been that impact for you?
I feel like nature, I mean, is a common phrase that nature is our greatest teacher. And since we talked about what this podcast was going to be about, I've really been trying to lean into and think about like why is nature our greatest teacher? And I feel like for me and my experience, nature has been my greatest teacher because it's allowed me to be 100% myself. There's no expectations in nature. There's no predispositions of just, I guess, any expectations. And it's quiet, it's still, it's a safe, loving energy. And when I have been able to be in nature, that's when I've been able to break through those mental walls, that programming that I have come with or just been raised with, and to be able to really see myself for myself instead of who people have told me that I was supposed to be. I had an experience actually. I went on a hike by myself, and that's actually why I have my tattoo. It says "Free as a bird." I was laying there, and it was during that summer when I was really, really suffering with depression, and I was watching all of these birds fly around the lake. Um, and I remember thinking to myself, how amazing it would be to just be free like them and to not feel shackled by society's constructs, from social constructs, from my own mindset. And I remember screaming at the top of my lung that I am free. I am free. And that was such a changing point for me. And I felt held in nature, and I felt protected, and I felt free to be who I wanted to be. And I was free as a bird.
Mm. What would you say or what would you suggest for people who like want to be in nature, but it almost brings up this fear-based experience? Does that make I don't know how to describe it. It was
Absolutely.
intense and it was terrifying. And I'm like, why do I feel that way?
No, it absolutely makes sense. I mean, I think that it's smart always to take any kind of activity where you're alone with a healthy amount of caution. But I think people have just been so used to living in everyday or just not being safe every day. Like getting in a car, that's a terrifying thing. People die in car accidents all the time. Going to a grocery store, you hear about people getting kidnapped or whatever. But for some reason, nature has just been demonized. And I think it's just because people have withdrawn so much from it that there's almost like this talk that it's not a safe place to be, when that's just not the truth. And I mean, everywhere is either safe or unsafe depending on what you're looking for, you know?
Right.
Um, I don't know if that answers your question at all, but I just think changing the narrative that nature's not an unsafe place. In fact, it's actually a beautiful place, and you absolutely have to take precautions. I mean, you have to have bear spray if you're in bear country, or you have to let people know where you're going. But I think it's just as safe as anywhere else that we go in the world.
Mm. And have you ever felt like that immense so when you go out into nature and when you're there to like have connection, what is it that you do to prepare? What is it that you bring with you to help you have
Mm.
peace of mind? I only ask because I know you have led different women in retreats there and everything like that. So I feel like you've got pretty good knowledge of how to help people prepare to be comfortable in nature like that.
Are you talking like spiritually comfortable or more from like a physical standpoint?
Both.
Both.
Let's do physical first.
There's a saying that you're only as good as your gear when you're in nature. It's kind of true. I mean, if you're just going for a day hike, a simple backpack is going to be all you need with some water. But I've learned just from the couple backpacking trips that your gear is everything to you. And you don't even have to spend a lot of money on it, just making sure that you get like middle of the grade gear so that you're comfortable.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If this podcast has piqued your interest, we would definitely recommend you to finish the podcast by clicking the link below. We would also love to invite you to subscribe and to like to our YouTube channel, along with joining our Modern Sages Soul Tribe. This is a tribe of women helping to embrace the medicine within. In this tribe, we will be doing moon gatherings, having classes, and a lot of free content, spiritual gift giveaways, and so much more. If this calls to you, click the link below and join the Modern Sages Soul Tribe. Blessings.